Good morning, this is Dr. Richard Pennington with the chemistry program at Georgia Gwinnett College. And one of the things I want to show you today is about our Vortexer. This is a piece of equipment that we use to do several things. One thing is we use it to mix two immiscible liquids together when we're doing a liquid-liquid extraction. And one of the other things we use it for is to dissolve something, to dissolve solid into a liquid. It works very well for that. So if I was to take this tube and put it on here, obviously I have to turn my machine on, and it's a good practice to just turn it all the way up. All right, now, you know what? Nothing's happening. This thing should be on. This is a very common issue that students have for whatever reason. They'll come along and tell me, Dr. P, I can't get it to work. What is going on? So I get into my Sherlock Holmes mode and I see, okay, let's trace all the way along, and you'll find that this thing called the plug needs to be plugged into the thing called the socket. And then magically, it works. Okay, so one thing I want you guys to see before we do anything else is notice for the solution that I have here, it's actually a mixture. There are two separate layers. Okay, there is actually a phase boundary between the two. What I'm going to do is I'll show you that if I just put this on top, notice the flash shakes about a little and the two liquids do mix. But what you want is the maximum possible vortexing. So you're going to put it right in the middle and give it a push and see what happens there. That is great mixing. That's the optimum mixing action that you want. So this is a good amount of mixing. You want to leave this here for a good few seconds at least. Okay? So these two liquids are mixing really, really well. Now the one thing you've got to be very careful about, particularly if one of these is volatile, which it is in this tube, you've got to make sure that you pop the cap. There was a little pop right there. Because if you have something volatile, it's going to evaporate, and of course this is a closed system, so the cap will pop off. The number of students that I've seen who forget to vent it, and so it vents by itself and vents the product all over the bench and all over whoever happens to be close to them, it's not the best thing in the world. So let me just show you again. Put it right down there, get a good mixing action, and then when we lift the centrifuge tube up off the Vortexer, notice what happens. The liquids stop mixing and the layers slowly separate. So the idea is if you had some product in one layer, you mix them together, that product goes into the other layer and then the layers separate out and you can retrieve one. So that is a very useful piece of equipment. So that's one thing it's used for. Another thing it's used for is if you have a solid like this, okay, and you want to dissolve it. So what I have here is I have some dichloromethane, and this is a mixture of 3 organic compounds. I'm going to put some dichloromethane in. Notice my accurate volume determination here. Make sure you put the cap on, unless you want to lose your product all over the bench. So you put the cap on, and then we're going to do the same thing. Notice that some of my product has dissolved, some of it has not. You want to dissolve everything. You can see the plug of product down at the bottom there. Put it right in the middle. Get it to Vortex. Nice, pretty color there. Lift it up. Can everybody see that most of it has dissolved? There's still some left. I'm going to make sure that I just vent it. And then, oops, then put it back down. What you'll find is that in some cases you may need to leave this for a minute or two to get it all to dissolve. But just make sure you have the vortexing going right to the top of the tube like we have right here. Okay, everybody see that's vortexing right to the top of the tube. And just check it every once in a while. All right, vent it. You'll find that in subsequent times when you vent it, there'll be very little pressure there, so it's not really that big of a deal after you vented it the first couple of times. So just keep on going. You may find occasionally that not all the solid will dissolve, but the vast majority of it will. Okay, because you want to get all your product into solution to be able to do the next part of the experiment. Okay, so we have a few stray particles, but you can see definitely most of it has dissolved. And that is what a Vortex mixer is used for. Very useful. But the most important thing is, remember, plug it in before you use it. Okay.